life is hard, regardless. You pick your hard.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing like waking up every day knowing that I'm operating in purpose. And it might be a day where a residual check is hitting and I'm like, oh, hello.
Forgot about that.
Hello. Or it might be a day where it's like, yeah, right. What's my theme music? Or, it might be a day where I'm released. Like I get released from jobs often. And people say, I hear it so often, like, you work all the time. And I'm like, you only knew how many jobs I get released from, though. How many no's I actually get.
Right.
You know what I mean? The yes, it makes the yes that much sweeter. But I feel like you've got to show that so that people know that it's worth it.
Welcome to another episode of the Will the World podcast. I am your host, Jazz Will. As you can see, we are already laughing, having a good time. I'm going to see if I can find a way to put that in what we just did last 10 minutes. But as you can see, I'm here with the incredible, the amazingly talented Nikiva Dionne. She is someone that I have admired and been inspired by from afar because she has so many creative pursuits that she not only does, but she is extremely talented in. So I wanted to have her here, have this conversation, because what's funny is this is our first time actually meeting.
Yep.
But
so if I go missing.
Yeah, for sure. So this is what I'm gonna do to protect everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and put
I sent the address to like 4 people.
You shared the location?
Oh, absolutely.
As you should have.
Here's my pen.
As you should have.
You never know people's brand are crazy,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you got to. I respect that.
Nobody says I'm crazy, so you gotta assume.
And look, I should have told everybody what I'm doing today too, because I don't know.
You should have. Because I'm from Baltimore. It's whatever.
Be More. I love Be More. I love Be More. I've been there maybe 4 or 5 times.
Aww,
and I've only had like pleasant experiences there.
That's my home. It's my heart.
Yeah.
I have nothing but fond things to say about Baltimore. There are some remarkably talented people there. There really, really are. And my heart says that I'll probably have a platform so that I can put a microphone to them.
I love that. I love that. That reminds me of like before I moved out here, people would be like, why you moving to LA? Why you moving to LA? And I would always tell them, I'm going to LA to get LA rich and bring the money back home.
Honey, I love that.
That's always been.
I love that. Because if I had to leave, then somebody else they ain't gonna have to.
Right.
I can bring some resources back.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. You got to be that trailblazer to peek over the hill.
Absolutely.
And see the scaries.
Absolutely. Yeah. For sure.
But you ain't let me finish my intro.
Sorry.
No, I'm just playing. So for those who don't know, Nikiva does commercials, TV shows. She is extremely funny on social media. You probably seen her on Insecure, SWAT, all your favorite shows. I personally like you on Insecure.
Really?
Because Insecure is one of my favorite shows, period, like of all time.
Okay.
And to see you on there and, you ain't just peek your head in. You was on that thing. You was on that thing. And
a few seasons. We did a few seasons.
Yeah, for sure. But I love it. So I have to ask you because, we've talked briefly before the cameras were rolling and, I did a little research.
Oh.
So I know that you have your degree in something else. I'm going to let you speak on it. But this journey that you found yourself on, how did you get here? Like, walk me through that.
Okay. Yes, my degrees are in fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
sorry, degrees. I'm sorry.
Yeah, both of them.
My bad.
I moved to New York for fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I had already started modeling though in Baltimore and then did some modeling in New York as well. I fought acting because I knew how to make money. I had a job since I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
It was like acting just seemed like this elusive dream. Like, how do you get there? I couldn't really figure it out. And I didn't really put the effort into it. I was just kind of like, I know how to make money. Everything. Like, I don't have the story that a lot of actors have where they say, I kept getting fired from every job. No, I kept getting promotions. I mean, I would wind up at a job for years and I'm like, I don't know how I'm here still.
Right.
I had extreme success in the fashion industry. I worked in wholesale and retail management. in the showrooms, but every time I would, lean into a certain career or say, I'm going to do this next, I would get pulled into fashion in terms of modeling, or I would get pulled into a commercial. Like I'd be walking down the street in New York and they say, can you come to this audition real quick? I'm like, you know what? I mean, come on, I can make it.
I got a little time.
So I fought it. I fought it for years. And actually, when I moved to LA, my heart still was calling me for acting, but I was kind of like, I know what to do. I'm going to, I launched a chain of retail stores on the West Coast. And I was an area manager for, I think, 4 stores. And I said, I'm going to hire actors and give them a flexible schedule. That's how I'll, fulfill my acting, dreams or prowess. So I did. The first girl I hired was an actress. And I'm like, just let me know your schedule. I'll help you out. And then I was fighting for our promotion and I couldn't understand why I was fighting. All of my stores were bonusing and it didn't make sense. So I was like, when it doesn't make sense, it's God. What's going on?
Right.
So I did my first ever fast, water only. I bought a new Bible and a friend of mine had bought me the book, The Alchemist. And I'd never read it, but I had it for, I think, a few months. So after fighting for this promotion, I got it and then said, I'm going to take a vacation. Everyone thought I was in Mexico. I still have the credit to this day. I did not go. I was in my little 1-bedroom in North Hollywood doing this fast, my first fast, reading The Alchemist. And I was like, oh my God, this ain't going to go away. And I resigned when I went back to work that following Monday. And I've been a full-time actor ever since.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I have to ask you because oftentimes I find that what's holding many of us back is the fear of what's on the other side of that door, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of gave you that courage to make that decision and when you did it,
Well, I think God makes you uncomfortable for a reason. Like I said, it didn't make sense that I wasn't offered this promotion. Like all of my stores, we were coming out of the recession and all of my stores were bonusing, like doing extremely well. I was staffing pretty much every store on the West Coast from people that I trained and hired. So it didn't make sense. And I feel like he makes you uncomfortable or otherwise you'll stay.
Right.
One of my favorite quotes is, there's no growth in the comfort zone and no comfort in the growth zone. And I was that uncomfortable because I was like, sometimes you'll never be comfortable where you're not supposed to be.
Right. Beautiful people. Listen, if you're finding any value in this episode, I need you to subscribe and comment below right now. What that would do is that would help with YouTube's algorithm so that this podcast, this episode can be found by other people that are just like you and me and that they can reap the benefits as well. All right. Appreciate you. Now let's get back to this episode.
I was in the middle. I had a Lexus car lease. I had an overpriced apartment lease. I had maybe 2 months worth of bills saved. It isn't like I was financially ready to do this.
Right. Like you was just free.
I wasn't able to do that.
Right.
But I read that book and, the book talks about following your personal legend. And I was just kind of like, you know what? And I have Maktub tattooed on me from that book and it means it was written. And I was kind of like, I can't expect him. I can't say I trust him if I'm not going to really put it in his hands.
Right.
And I was kind of like, God, if you tell me to do it, I'll do it. Yeah. So I went to work that Monday. I wasn't going to resign. And I was in the stock room and something just kept on egging me. And I went to the bathroom and I usually go to the bathroom, like put my hand in a ponytail. All right, get ready, get yourself together. Kind of little, what is it, Superman moment?
Yeah.
That's usually just, just to get amped up to go back to work. And I wound up on the bathroom floor praying. I'm like, if you tell me to leave, I'll leave. And I sent the email and I left. And I remember I called my mom when I was getting to the freeway and I'm crying my heart out. And she's like, I felt like it was coming. Just get home safe and we'll talk about it later. And she was, not necessarily in a position to help either financially.
Right.
But she did because she believed in me. You know what I mean? And things happened. Like, immediately, the first thing I did when I became a full-time actor, which means I just quit my job. I had nothing else to do, basically. I joined Twitter because I was like, I don't know anyone in the business. And I noticed that every day casting directors would get on Twitter and around lunchtime complain, oh, you guys are missing auditions, or this isn't happening, or they would get on there to laugh. So I started following casting directors. I created a 1-minute skit series. I'm like, just make them laugh during lunch kind of thing. So I put those up. And one day this casting director said, oh, so it's raining in LA and you guys are missing auditions. So I was like, hold up. So I Googled where his office was. And I'm like, bet. I messaged him on Twitter and I said, I can get there in 15 minutes, 20 if you want me to shower. And he was like,
That's good.
hilarious, see you in 20.
Yeah.
And I booked my first 2 commercials within the first month of acting.
Wow.
From him.
That's amazing.
From him.
That's amazing.
So I don't know. It's faith, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's just faith.
For sure.
It didn't make sense. It won't make sense.
It
never, won't add up. It won't be the perfect time. You'll never have enough money set aside. It won't ever make sense.
It won't ever make sense. And if y'all think that y'all gonna find that golden moment to where it's like, oh yeah, bam, let's do it.
As soon as you save the money, something's gonna happen. You're gonna need to spend the money. So it won't ever be the perfect time.
Never.
And that's the thing. You heard me saying how good I was in fashion. I gave God no credit because I was that good. So I had to get to a space where it was like, wait, let me show you something. I was always your provider.
Right.
You know what I mean? All I kept saying was, I did this and I did that because I kept getting promotions. I was so good. And he was like, hold up, let me show you something.
Right, right.
Let me show you something.
Let me show you something that you know it's me doing this.
You got it. That's what life is all about anyway. At some point, there's a surrender. At some point, you got to know it's bigger than you. At some point, your purpose, comes to fruition where it's like, you know what? It has to be about him. There's nothing I can do, in this business, in this crazy business without him. I don't know. It's funny because sometimes I'll do life coaching with different actors. And I tell them before they even set up their appointment, like it's in the bio, I don't know how to tell you to do this without having faith in something bigger than you. So you cannot think I'm going to give you A, B, and C. It ain't an outline for me.
Right, right.
Like you've got to have that moment where wait a minute. You know what I mean? I was put here for this.
Yeah.
And I can help you find that moment, but I can't tell you how to do this business without it.
Right. Yeah, you need it.
I can't.
It reminds me of even like for those who may not necessarily put it on a faith, you have to have the mindset. And me, I'm faith-based, like 1000%. So I would want that to be clear. Like I'm not saying for those who don't.
Right.
No, mindset and the faith and your belief in that knowing even. Like if you can reach that knowing to where it's bigger than a belief, it's bigger than you. And you hit it right on the nail. So that's been another episode because
hilarious.
She came out swinging.
Hilarious.
No, that reminds me of like even with my story, it kind of hit in that moment of, and I think about this sometimes too. I remember my senior year in college, the beginning of the year. Every time I scored, I would do this, and I was in like 20 a game.
Wow.
This might sound crazy.
Wow.
But the moment I stopped doing that,
I love that.
The ball started ringing off the rim. And I still, like, every now and then, like, I think about it not in, like, a way of being like, dang, what if? But just like a reminder of, like, always give credit to where it's coming from.
Absolutely.
Always.
Because if you think about it, at some point, it's going to wind up, like, work begets work. So my phone rings sometimes now because of the work I've already done. I've already sown seeds.
Right.
But at any point, if I forget that these are resources, but he's my source, I always hit a wall. I hit walls.
Every time.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. And then, too, I always think about a lot of times when we have our mind set on doing certain things and we may make that decision and we may get some pushback from it. If we don't believe that, like one, you say it's bigger than us, and then two, that this is a part of the process, that is the point where most people give up.
Yeah.
And it's like I always say, disruption always follows intention.
I love that.
Always.
I'm so glad you said that because I feel like we don't say that enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? We don't say, like, even when it comes to faith, when it comes to purpose, we don't say that it's going to get hard.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there will be walls that you will hit. It doesn't mean that you stop.
Right.
Those are growing pains. You know what I mean? And I feel like people tend to think, especially in LA, because we're so spread out, that I'm the only one, hitting this wall. I'm the only one in this lonely, situation. And it's like, absolutely not. Like, that's why I show so much of what I show on Instagram. Like I could make my Instagram look like it's all flashing lights, but that's not serving anyone.
Right.
Because there's somebody else looking at it thinking, oh, I must not be as good if I'm not getting the response. So I show when I get released from jobs, when I've been pinned and released, or when a project, I've been edited out of it, or like there are so many things and so many steps. And it's like, for me, that's the beauty of it. You know what I mean? Like life is hard regardless. You pick your hard. But there's nothing like waking up every day knowing that I'm operating in purpose. And it might be a day where a residual check is hitting and I'm like, oh, hello.
Forgot about that.
Hello. Or it might be a day where it's like, yeah, right. What's my theme music? Or, it might be a day where I'm released. Like I get released from jobs often. And people say, I hear it so often, like, you work all the time. And I'm like, you only knew how many jobs I get released from, though. How many no's I actually get.
Right.
You know what I mean? The yes, it makes the yes that much sweeter. But I feel like you've got to show that so that people know that it's worth it. It is.
Yeah. And if you don't show it, then you're lying to the people.
How am I helping you? How am I serving you? Because as soon as you hit a wall, you're going to turn around. You know how many people leave when they came? You know how many people give up? I heard recently one of my agents said, I didn't hear that. I should look the interview up. But she said it came from Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld. And he said, it wasn't that I was more talented or funnier. It was that I stayed in line. You got to stay in line.
That's powerful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got friends who have been in LA as long as I've been in LA, but they weren't pursuing acting the whole time. So then when we have the conversation and they're like, I've been doing this for 12 years. And I'm like, but you haven't.
Right.
You've been in LA 12 years, baby, but you really haven't been putting you know what I mean? It's different there. That's not the same thing as actively pursuing it. So don't put that pressure on yourself.
Yeah. Cause we, a lot of times, like you just said, like we associate just time with a broad thing versus the specificity that we need and actually doing the thing, perfecting the craft, getting the nose.
Honey, listen, I have a friend who, I remember when I met her, I think I knew her for probably 4 months and didn't know she had a child. And when I found out she had a child, I'm like, what? And she's like, cause I still want, my Nickelodeon show. I don't want them to think. I said, well, if you're supposed to be on Nickelodeon, then maybe you'll be the teacher or the mom on Nickelodeon.
Right.
What God says is yes, but you can't call a blessing a curse.
Right.
As soon as I had this conversation with her, I love children, so I'm around her child a lot. He started booking more than her. He paying her bills. It's like, don't call a blessing a curse. You never, you know what I mean?
You never know.
Yeah, you might be on Nickelodeon, but it might not be in the same capacity that you anticipated. But that's the thing about creativity, man. We have to stay childlike in that. We have to stay open.
1000%.
And know that at some point it's gonna align. But who's to say when that time is? It says at a appointed time.
Right. Yep. And because back to the time thing, because we have this idea that once I say I'm doing this, it's going to happen at X.
Yep.
That's not life. That rarely happens.
If anything, I feel like that's when, like, there's in that same book, The Alchemist, it talks about beginner's luck, where all the universe conspires when you decide.
Right.
So all of a sudden, like those 2 auditions I got, those 2, commercials I booked immediately. Yeah, that was right away. And that was enough to keep me. But you know how many months I went without booking something after that? Right. And I almost feel like it comes to see if you're really gonna stay, if you're really gonna, dig your heels in.
Right. Because what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of having all of these riches and I'm not talking about monetarily speaking, but in the fulfillment, and you don't have the bag that it can fit in.
Honey. And will you really honor it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when those yes come, I don't care what you say about if I deserved it or not. I know the work I put in. So when the comments come and they say, I can't stand when she, or why they hire, or why they book, you know what I mean? Doing that? Yeah. Certain shows, you get a certain child.
Really?
Listen,
what was like the worst experience?
Oh my gosh. So you mentioned SWAT. And the star of SWAT is Shamar Moore. And he is everybody's husband in their head.
Right.
And man, I got ripped to shreds because my character, we were never, a couple, but we had a certain relationship. A situationship. And it was, they didn't receive that on the show. Like the women, ripped me anew. And I still to this day get emails to my private email saying I'm his wife and he told me to tell you to call me, and they give me their phone numbers, and it's a lot. And that was my only experience so far with fans not really appreciating my work.
And how do you handle that? Like,
well, for me, it was like, well, good. They really think I'm dating this man. I'm doing a good job.
Right, that part. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So from a creative perspective, I'm like, well, let me sell it. If anything, they made me push a little bit harder. Like, oh, okay, let me give you something to talk about.
Yeah, you saw the script the night before. You're like, okay,
they won't lie. That's
see what they say after this one.
Yeah,
in 3 months.
For me, it wasn't. I do it for him. Yeah. I know I'm here for a reason. So those things don't get to me, but my family. Like I sent messages immediately to my 2 sisters who are on social media. And I'm like, don't you say nothing. Stay out these people. So I had to, tell my family too, because, and then they'll send me, things sometimes too. And I'm like, baby, that's this business.
You gotta call Solange as soon as the episode
drops. I'm like, stay out the elevator, young. Yeah, you got to tell them because you want to protect them because they are used to protecting me. But I'm like, this is my business. Yeah. I'm not, I ain't messing with that man. Like,
right. But, people are crazy.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I wasn't ready, like I was in church one time and I used to live stream from church or I would at least share, that I'm there kind of thing. And one day while the preacher's preaching, somebody taps me on my shoulder and I'm like, listen, you kind of just push your ear back. And she starts talking about Shamar. I'm in church. I was like, oh, I can't even get people to come to church no more. Because, you think, for me, I understand that, you're going to inspire people to do certain things. So I do share at church. So I do share, things that mean something to me. And I want you to go to church, but I don't want you to go to meet me. Right. You're supposed to go for him.
Yeah.
So that kind of, so my management team, then I had to go to social media training and I had to talk to them. And I got this whole rule list of things to say and not say. So I don't listen all the time, but
So I just thought about something. So I did a little research.
Okay.
And I came across
prepared.
A little bit. I didn't want to be overly prepared. Like I told you, have cliff notes. But it made me think about this. I wanted to ask you, like, have you always been like so free and outgoing with being on social media and being in front of a camera and stuff? Because I've seen some Insta therapies.
Hilarious. You went back.
I went back.
You went back.
I went bike.
You know what? So when I told you I joined Twitter, I follow casting directors and I put out this skit series. They were 1-minute skits. I think 8 people saw it. Issa Rae was one of the 8.
I swear I was just thinking probably the right 8 people saw it.
She was one of the 8 people. So Issa is one of the only people in, Hollywood that knew I could do comedy, So she calls me first for comedy, whereas I'm fighting to get in comedy doors. You know what I mean? So I said when I shot a pilot for her, and I wasn't on Instagram, and her and the on-set photographer kept telling me to get on Instagram. And I'm like, I'm on Twitter. I'm not doing Instagram. I'm like, it's pictures. I want people all in my... I can do a pretty picture. That's stupid. I could not wrap my mind around why there was value because, there weren't videos at the time, So I'm like, no, I'm on Twitter. And I had booked jobs from Twitter. So I was invested in Twitter.
Yeah.
And
like, this is my home.
Yeah. By the time we wrapped, she was like, and I was like, all right, fine. So I got on Twitter, on Instagram reluctantly. And I got on there and I kind of shared a little bit here and there. And I'm private to a degree. And it's more so me protecting things that I feel like I need to protect.
Okay, that makes sense.
But to the same degree, what I share on Instagram is how I want Hollywood to see me, not what I already do. I don't put a lot of drama on there because I get hired for drama. Right. So that's good. Yeah. So I share, if I'm going to have to be here and y'all telling me that I need to be here, then I'm going to do it how I want to do it. And that means I'm going to show you that I'm funny. I'm going to show you that I can land a punchline. I'm going to show you that I love relationships because I make fun of them. And they're so funny to me. And I'm not in a relationship, so it's even funnier. Like you tell me something about your marriage and I'm like, I can find funny in that. And y'all like fighting, hitting the walls. But you know what I mean? Like I love relationship. That's the actor in me. You know what I mean? So that's what I do on Instagram for the most part is, share the things.
Stop doing this.
Stop doing this. Y'all keep doing stuff. I be trying to stop doing them videos. I be trying to stop doing them, and this stuff keep happening.
Oh man, I think honestly, I think that's when I was like first introduced to you and what you do through that.
Through those.
And then when I was watching Insecure, I was like, wait,
that's old girl.
Yeah. I was like, let's stop doing this. Let's stop doing this.
I love that. See, that was my desire when it came to acting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to do movies. I wanted to do TV because I felt like, and this has changed in recent years, not just for me, but just in the industry in general. But when I was growing up, movie stars were stars.
Right.
It was like, I'm going to freak out when I see her.
Uh-huh.
But TV was like, oh, that's old girl from and it just felt like, because that's me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see, I'm very informal. So for me, it wasn't daunting. It felt like you could attach yourself to a character that I played, and that makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. So I love when people say, oh, that's old girl from so-and-so. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you don't have to know my name. That's irrelevant. Yeah. I want you to be like, wait, I know her voice.
Right.
And that's what I hear more than anything else. Like, as soon as I heard your voice.
Yeah, you knew exactly. Yeah, because I love them. And I'm going to tell you, I had like a moment where I was like, oh, snap. So it was like either the first or second episode of the podcast. Mm-hmm. And I was rapping. I was rapping most of them, but I had one specifically. And you had responded to it. And I was like, wait, hold on. She followed me one, yep. and she respecting the art. I was like, man, that's dope.
You put in the end of your second episode, you put I think it was in the middle of the episode, you did. I don't know how many bars.
I think it was
the second episode for sure.
Yeah,
I know because I remember because I was like, oh, he dope. You know, I'm obsessed with music, so I was like, wait a minute.
I appreciate it.
So yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it's weird when the politics come into social media where people are like, oh, you should follow this, or you should I'm following what I like.
Exactly.
I'm following what's dope. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Like that's how Hollywood is a weird bubble, and you don't realize it becomes this alternate universe, and it becomes so normal because it's all you're in. Right. So you have to, put people in your space that feel authentic, that feel genuine, that feel like there isn't any air or any Hollywood, anything attached to it. You know what I mean? Like I am proud of you and your pursuit. I'm not here because I'm like, oh, this is going to become.
Right.
I'm here because I'm like, these are seeds sown to show people that, you know what I mean? I believe in your vision. I believe in your heart for your purpose.
I appreciate it.
You have no idea the people who need to see this. You know what I mean? Like you could, so what if it winds up getting picked up by a network or something? That's like, okay, God, that was overflow. Right. But the seeds that you're sowing that can inspire somebody else to keep going or to take a chance, that's what matters.
That is like, I agree because, I had some months where I shut down production. I wasn't doing anything because I was focused on like, man, let me focus on getting the business right. And I want to make sure I got my merch on every episode. I want to create this business model for it. And it was completely derailed from why I started it in the first place. And then what ended up happening was, to my surprise, I started going places. People walking up like, man, I love the podcast. I love what you're doing. You're talking about stuff that matters. I'm like, man, okay. I'm like, I hear you.
Yep.
I hear you.
And that's what's important, that you listened. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So I know we've talked about a lot of, your career pursuits, which are amazing. But one of the things that I did not mention in the intro, because I wanted to keep it to this point, is your entrepreneurial endeavors. And that's something that I respect as well. You have an app that I'm whipping out this Saturday, game night.
You gotta play.
If y'all know me, y'all know where I live. Y'all pull up. Yes. Game night tonight. Saturday night. But yeah, so tell us about the app and, how it came about and
Lyric Party Game. I'm obsessed with song lyrics. I told you I love music. I've always loved music. And something that I'm learning just as a full-time creative is that you've always been who you're now becoming. Like people can always say, like my photographer friend, it's like, yeah, you always had a camera growing up. It's like you always, so when you actually return to yourself, when you get in your most childlike quality, it's like, I've always been that. So I love song lyrics, and just so happens my nieces are just like me in that regard. And one of my nieces was going off to college, and I noticed that our conversations were waning a little bit, like we would talk a little bit less. So I started sending her, I would send a voice memo, and it would be like me rapping the beginning of a song lyric, and she would rap it back. Or I would send her a text, and then she would finish the lyric or something like that. So that was our thing to keep connected. I didn't have to talk to you. I get it. You're busy. You're doing your college thing, but I'm thinking about you, or I'm on your radar, you know? So that was our thing for some years while she was in school. And one holiday they came to Cali, and I was like, let me find a game or something that we can play. And I was like, you know what? And I did a whole R&B just my family of these questions where it kind of throws you in the middle of the song to see if you really know the lyrics.
Right. Put you on the spot.
Yeah. I did that for R&B, and I remember I put it on Instagram, and people were like, I need it. Where can I get it? I need it for my family. And I was like, oh, really? Let me delete it. So I took it down.
We're going to take this idea off the shelf real quick.
I took it down, and I actually wrote it in this book. And I remember acting, it came to a halt, and it was like, quiet. And I'm like, what is going on? It was on the heels of like a bunch of work, and then all of a sudden it just died. And I called myself calling God to the carpets. I'm in my prayer closet. Yeah, I got a prayer closet. I'm in my prayer closet on the floor, and I'm like, look here, God, what's going on? You told me to do this. What's happening? And he was like, I told you to do a lot of stuff and you ain't done it. And I was like, bet, let me see what you're talking about.
Call me about this.
And I pulled out this notebook that I have written. I write a lot. And 3 things that was on there. One of them was this game, to make it an actual game. And I was like, I'm telling you, I ain't got rent money. You talking about go write a game, make a game? Like, I ain't got no money for that.
That's how it happened.
I ain't got no money for that. What you mean, go do that? So I, long story short, I started developing this game. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, still to this day. It kicked my butt. Yet on the same token, it was like, it taught me that you already have what you need for your next. Because I designed the entire app from PowerPoint. People aren't even using PowerPoint anymore. That's what I did in college. People aren't doing that no more.
No, not at all.
And I was like, look here, this is what I know. I designed every single screen of that app in PowerPoint. I was like, I know how to put it out. I got to show you how it is in my head. And I did. And that wound up translating into working with a developer and him bringing it to life. And the app is called Lyric Party Game. It's in the App Store and Google Play. It has 30 genres, over 6,000 questions, and it throws you in the middle of the song to see if you know the lyrics. And
man, I can't wait.
What's so crazy is I had no idea that this game that was from, my niece and I interactions would become so important to me, because as we don't even know how to preface it, but my niece actually passed away.
Oh, wow.
And
sorry to hear that.
She played the game. She's been around. It was on the market, I think, for a year before she passed. But how would I know? You know what I mean? That something that came from our connection would outlive her. So I cry every interview. This is this Oprah moment of the show. But yeah, so it wound up being, so it's like, it's just always a reminder, like everything that I do, when he tells me to do it, it always comes full circle in some way where I realize, oh, you were making me do this.
Right.
This was for me.
Right.
I thought it was for you, but it was for me. You were, So that's what Lyric Party Game has become. And, it's taking on a life of its own. It's beautiful that I have those memories. And now every time somebody shares with me that they play it with their family, I'm like, yes. Right. Because we'll never have this moment again.
Right.
Something can change the second I leave here, and we never have this opportunity again. So it's like, I'm intentional about creating those moments now. And that's one of the gifts that you get from grief. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I'm going to stop and be intentional. I'm going to say yes, to things that may not make sense to somebody else, but make my soul leap,
Right.
So yeah, anyway, it's a Lyric Party Game. When you play, you ain't going to cry. But yeah, it's an app. It's only 99 cents. Play it. Create some memories with your family.
They over there like, we going to get all the feels. We going to laugh. We going to cry.
And I promise you, it's a little nostalgia because, there's a 90s genre. There's an 80s genre. But yeah, it's a genre for every event. There's a baby shower genre. There's a barbecue genre, which is like the summer hits, all the feelings in the summer.
The 2 steps.
You know what I mean? The line dance songs and stuff. So it really is a great representation of just music, which is the one thing that binds all of us.
The universal
we
language.
can grow up, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And God knows where. And it's like, we still feels like we grew up together when a certain song comes on.
1000%.
So that's what music does.
I can't wait. And now I'm really like, that's going to be the first thing.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Y'all gonna love it. Because
Yeah.
y'all are musically inclined and create a family.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
a good time. Now, I'm from the East Coast, so my family act like fools. Like, we fuss, somebody leave mad. It's a whole thing.
I think that's
fun.
everywhere.
It's fun. It's a party game. So it's for, the larger the group, the easier the game.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, it's 3 rounds and each round gets increasingly hard. So it keeps it entertaining, but it's going to be a good time.
I can't wait.
I'm going to try pull up. I got stuff that day, but I'm going to try pull up.
Yeah, pull up. Because once we get started, it's going. So, like, don't be thinking like, they might be done. Like, nah. We just hit the next chapter. We didn't anteed up.
Hilarious.
By that point.
Hilarious. That's funny.
No, like I said, I'm excited. That's, like I said in the beginning, I've been inspired by what you do and not what you say. Because a lot of times, especially on social media, people can just talk. So, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, your schedule to pull up, spend some time. It's been good. I wanted to ask you a question. It's a little bit more, I'm going to use the S word, the serious side.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay. I can do serious.
I know. And it's like a 2-part. It's like a 2-part.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you today would say to your younger self that may not have changed the path, but might have made a difference along the journey?
So it's hard. It's a hard question for me because all things work together.
Of course.
I use every aspect of who I am and who I've become. Yes, my degrees are in fashion, but it was the business of fashion.
Right.
So the fact that I approach acting as a business fares really well for me and probably sets me aside or apart from a lot of other artists, because I have that part, that business acumen. So would I say anything differently to her? I would probably say that little voice is God. Because had I known that little voice that made me feel like I wanted to do certain things was him, I probably would have listened sooner. Once I knew it was him, I was obedient. But those little whispers, those little things that you hear that maybe should I, or I could, or I do like this. Like I remember my first, so I went to school in New York. We didn't have a campus because I was in Times Square pretty much. And there was this, my apartment building was for people who were doing internships and people who were in college. But it was like our version of a dorm. And I remember hearing my neighbors in the hallway one day, and I'm like, they're making a lot of noise. So me being me, I opened the door like, what's happening? and they were like, oh, sorry, we're learning our lines. And I'm like, for what? And they were all in school for theater. And I didn't even know. I took theater all throughout high school. I didn't even know that you could go to school for theater. Why didn't anybody tell me?
Right.
Why my theater teacher ain't pull me aside?
Right. And say, you can do this.
I mean?
After
I did not
school.
know that was a step. You know what I mean? I remember shutting that door and having like my TV moment where you kind of like slide down the door and just listen, the wall crumble. And I'm like listening to them. And I remember thinking, but I would like to do that, I think. But I'm like, nah, I was really good at this fashion thing. My family's really excited. My mom's really excited about this. And I didn't. You know what I mean? And that was probably my first time where I was like, I said no, where I probably knew in that moment that I wanted to do it and didn't. So I don't think, I think before that I just was ignorant. You don't know what you don't know.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like that's something that unfortunately happens to a lot of creatives in school, in the education process, because if you're not good in math, then you must be good in English. So fine, I wasn't good at math, so I can write my butt off now because you told me I had to.
Right.
So I learned it.
Right.
But reality is I was really, really good at this artistic stuff. I was really good at this. You know what I mean? I was only good at writing because it's script to me. because I get it, you know, in reference to
Right.
bringing it to life. Like I can recount times back in elementary school where we had to do like group reading and I would say, no, let's rap the lyrics and make everybody rap. Like I've always been this person, but because I was in, you know, school that was either like this or this, I didn't know.
Right. Yeah.
And I wish, you know, that's why I think arts are so important in school, because I wish kids knew that you can be more than one thing, and you can also lean into something that you haven't seen before.
Right.
Like there are so many jobs within entertainment that people have no knowledge of. So just because you are afraid to be in front of the camera doesn't mean you're not supposed to be in entertainment.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish we did a better job of knowing that there are other, you know, careers
and avenues. Yeah, for sure. Because there's yesterday I was even I had a meeting for like a pre-production and we were looking at a video and the credits were so long.
All them
and
jobs.
Maybe
I'm looking at them like all them jobs.
All them jobs. Maybe 10 people were on the camera.
See?
And you got hundreds of names.
See?
Hundreds of names. Yeah,
that's a lot of money, man. Our kids don't know that. Our
Yeah.
community, anyway. I can speak for, you know, where I grew up. We know that.
No, we know sports and singing and rapping.
And guess what? And we only know those jobs as it relates to what we see on camera. We don't think about that there's an agent behind that person.
Yeah.
We don't think that, you know what, there's a conditioning trainer that's making 6 figures right out of college. You know, we don't strength training and we don't know those things.
And even the positions that we do know, we associate them to another group of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Out the gate. Like,
absolutely.
We're like, no, they do that. No,
and we
they don't
must
look like
be,
us.
And it's like, wait a minute. You got some probably remarkable coaches that never made it to the league and wanted to. You know what I mean? Could be phenomenal coaches.
And that's typically what I found. Like the best coaches are the ones who weren't the greatest players.
Yeah,
because they developed the other skills.
You see the court differently. You see the field differently. You know what I mean? And it's beautiful. It's like to have. That's why I'm not a big proponent of just having like my group of friends. Like I got a lot of different groups of people. I sit at every lunch table. I tell people, that's me. Because you can't be around people and it too long and it just becomes groupthink. We all think alike. We all do alike. We all talk alike. We all dress alike. It's like I need to be in all these different groups so that my mind constantly thinks beyond where I am. You know what I mean? Where I can see that, oh, wait, you think like this. You would be a great editor. You know what I mean? Like I know who to call with certain things where I'm like, I'm way too meticulous. I will never get this done. I need you to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
There's so much wealth in knowing the value of other people. You know what I mean?
And all those things, like even with the different pursuits that we even have individually, it's the same concept. Everything works in unison. Like I remember I had accounting jobs and, you know, finance jobs. And I remember one day, like the first time I performed one of my songs, I was like, oh, this is why I was in accounting, because my memory is sharp.
Oh my goodness. See?
And then I was like, okay, I'm going to get out of this. But now I understand.
And you're using it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like. There's nothing that I've wasted.
Nothing.
You know what I mean? Like even like my degrees are in fashion, but I know exactly what colors look good on me. I know for camera purposes. I know what to wear in audition. I know how to tap into, like, clothes for me are part of my character.
Right.
You know what? Music is a part of the characters I develop. All of those things are me. And it's like every character I play has a playlist. I need to know what she's thinking. What is she listening to in this season? You know what I mean? How can I justify what she's doing right now? Oh, let me put this song on Nuck If You Buck. You know what I mean? But it all works together. It's so beautiful. I wish, you know, and I feel like our parents and society does it to, you know, try to keep you structured and, you know, but that's what you got to paint with every color. You
have to. And you know, I always I say this as well. Whatever you want to do, find someone that you can aspire to be. And you have that example. So like a lot of people always told me like, jack of all trades and all that, you know. But then I'd be like, well, what about Will? What about Jamie? What about Childish Gambino? Like the list is very long when you start to
look
just
at Tyler
ring them
the
off.
Creator.
Tyler's amazing.
It's ridiculous. It is like I don't know. I wish we got to do better as a society with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like now here I am, late 30s, still unfolding parts of myself that I'm like, wait, that was, not only is it fulfilling, it's valuable. I could have been monetized this. You know what I mean? Wait, this is multiple streams of impact and income, you know?
You couldn't have said it any better. One last thing, and that might be a lie, but one last thing at the moment. Is there anything that maybe you could shed light to any aspiring actors, actresses out there who are looking to not only start their journey, but even if they've already started their journey and they feel a little stagnant, you know, don't really know which way is left or right, and any tidbits of advice you can give in this crazy world that we live in?
I'm a person that I'll pour everything I got. So this could wind up being a 2-hour episode. I think a few things. One, there's a book called Self-Management for Actors that was a great tool for me. It's by Bonnie Gillespie. And it's just because it's almost like it has in different sections of the book, auditions, how to send a letter to get an agent, how to, some of it is antiquated because times are changing, but you chew up the meat and spit out the bone. That is the best piece of advice I can give you for everything in LA. What works for me will not work for you. However, there's something you take from it. Like the gift and the curse of this business is that there's no blueprint. It's like, there's no blueprint. There's no blueprint. You know what I mean? There's no hierarchy. There's no, you know what I mean? Yeah. So for me, I think what I tell people when I first meet aspiring artists is, you got to know your why.
First and foremost.
Because no matter what's happening around you, if you know your why, then it'll make the process, more consistent within you.
And that's with everything.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Being an artist is something that is elusive to a lot of minds, and not just because people don't want to do it, but because it seems irresponsible, and it isn't. It's the most responsible thing you can do for yourself and your family, honestly. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, know when to hold them and when to fold them kind of thing. Know when to share something, because everything has an incubation period where you're trying to still get it in you. So I don't share something right away. Like that app, nobody knew I was doing that app until I did a focus party at my house. And I had been working on it for 2 years. But then they came and they were like, what are we here for? And I'm like, so here's this thing. Because I couldn't handle your pushback. I couldn't handle you saying, Kiva, I app, but you work, you're acting. You know what I mean? So you got to know when to hold something and develop it and be able to ward off any doubt that other people may have. You know what I mean? So some things are just for you and God. And then there's a season where you have to have the audacity to share it, regardless. You know what I mean? And then one last thing would probably be really, really honest with yourself. If you're honest with yourself, you'll know what you need to work on. You'll know what you are extremely good at. And if you know those two things, you'll know who to put around you. If I know my weaknesses, then I know I can't have everybody around me that's strong in the same places that I'm strong in. You know what I mean? I've got to know how to build not even just my team, and your team. That's another thing that new artists always think, oh, I need a better agent. No, you need an agent that is strong where you're weak. Because there are things that this is my career, regardless. You're only making 10% off of me. So I know it ain't as important to you as it is to me. So my team is built up of people who do things that I respect how they communicate, but they can take my direction. You know what I mean? It's my business. So when I say this, I don't care how you see me. That's only gonna go but so far with me, because I know me. You know what I mean? So you've got to always understand that agent relationship, it is like a relationship, a love relationship. You know what I mean? We ain't stuck. We just, look, as long as it's working kind of thing. Because I don't think actors know that. They go into these agent meetings and it's like, I hope they pick me. No. You want to make sure that it's mutually beneficial. You want to make sure that you are excited. They are excited about you and you about them. And when it doesn't work anymore, you leave. You know what I mean? It's you've got to know your treasure. I'm the prize in this situation. So either you see that,
or
I had to go somewhere that you know what I mean. I don't think actors are empowered to think like that. And you have to be.
Yeah. Do you think that came with like your experiences, or you think like your business acumen helped you with that?
A little bit of both. I think I definitely had a certain amount of audacity initially because you couldn't just tell me anything, because I was like, wait.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I appreciate my mind more than anything else about me. You know what I mean? So I definitely would challenge people, you know, in reference to that doesn't sit right, or I don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like when I started acting, I was a sponge, and I still am. You know what I mean? Like I'm not afraid to ask questions. I don't have an ego at all. I'm not going to say I know when I don't.
Right.
I'm not going to figure it out because I don't want you to think, no, I don't know what's happening. Why are we doing this? What's my frame? Are we cut off here? Wait, you know what I mean? You've got to know. You've got, wait, is this a yellow light, or you know what I mean? You've got to ask questions, and it's the only way you learn. And that's the best part about being new, because you don't know anything.
Right.
So it's
Fresh
like,
canvas.
it's not a detriment. I never looked at any part of the business that I've been in as a detriment. If I'm just starting, I'll never be at this place again. So I've got to maximize this moment. I've got to communicate with you saying I'm a fresh new talent. I am this, and this. Like that means you might think you can mold me then. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like every aspect of if I'm here, God knows I'm here, and it's going to work for me. You know, so some of it, yes, came from, I remember I sat on somebody's roster for a year, and I think I got one audition all year. And I had been booking from my own self-submissions.
Right.
And I kept letting them commission off of it, thinking that they would then be inspired to. And then I was like, hold up.
Yeah, now y'all just eating.
Yeah. So if it took me 10 years to get to a certain place, it can't take you 10 years or I was here for nothing.
Right.
It's got to take you less.
Yeah,
like I've got to be able to sow a seed to make sure you don't hit the same walls that I hit.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to hit your walls, but at the same token, all right, you can't, you got to bounce off of it. I was like, I was stuck for a second.
It can't be that same door.
It can't be the same one. You got to, you know what I mean? Like I talk to people. I remember having a conversation with this guy who was a new comedian, and he was like, yeah, I was in the room, and you know, Cedric and Tina was in there, and D.L. Hill, he was naming all these people. He was like, I told them. And I was like, hold up.
Told them what?
Why were you telling them anything?
Right.
You just started. You should have been quiet. You should have been in there taking notes. Why are you telling them anything? Know that certain rooms are to pour into you.
Right.
Other rooms, you know, I'm so like you see how outgoing I am, but when I get into a room with a bunch of people, I'm usually quiet.
Yeah.
One, I need to see where are my people, because not everybody is your people. You know what I mean? Where, or is there a need? Because I honestly believe that if I'm anywhere, it's because like some of the jobs I book, they're not because they were on my vision board. It was because God said, you need to be in this environment. They need to see you. Your light is more important than anything else. So it's like, I'm always looking, why am I here? You know what I mean? And I feel like in Hollywood, it gets so lonely out here that you wind up thinking that you have to create your own value or make yourself valuable in different spaces. And it's like, what you got to do is not whore yourself out. What you got to do is be honest to whatever moment you're in. If you're authentic in any moment in your real life, when the camera's rolling, baby, you good. You don't got to try to build that up then. You know what I mean? If you're like, for me, it was a weird thing because I have to be honest in my real life. Like we can't be close and I got to lie to you. Nah. Because then when I got to do this work on this character, I don't know how to get to that space. So for me, it took a lot, you know, to realize that I've got to show up authentically in every aspect and facet of my life. And if I really value that I can show up in these spaces and be myself completely and be vulnerable in these conversations, when the camera's on, I won't care about that camera. And I can literally find the heart of my character. I can find why she's fighting. I can justify any decision she makes because she's standing in her truth. And I can't tell you that's wrong. You know what I mean? So I don't care what you tell me my character did. There's a reason she did it. You can think it's wrong all you want. For me, nope. It's the only option I had. You know what I mean? I did what I had to do in this moment, and I'm going to make you see that.
Right.
And that's my job on screen.
Look, on that note, look, sometimes you got to know when it's just amazing.
Hilarious.
And you gotta cap it at that amazing part.
Ain't gonna get no better than this.
Look,
That's it. That was the ceiling, guys.
Look, because what we gonna do is we gonna stay there and then we gonna start talking about the Lakers and we gonna start talking about...
I can't talk about the Lakers right now.
Nah,
I can't.
No, but I want to say this has been amazing. I know I feel like we could go another hour or two.
Yeah.
Like this was incredible. I appreciate you. I can't thank you enough for pulling up.
Thank you for
having this conversation with me. Let the beautiful people out here know what you got going on, where to follow you, where to find you.
I'm out here. My name, just look for me. Nikiva Dionne on all social media. I usually keep people pretty updated to what I can share on social media. I got a project that's already in the can, but it's scary. It's a scary time to talk about things that are coming out because we don't know if it's coming out.
Right.
Some things that have been, there's a lot of shows that actually have completely wrapped and finished editing and then they get dropped. So it's weird to say, oh yeah, look, I'll stay tuned. We don't got to air date yet.
I know.
So I ain't saying nothing.
There we go. But, be beeping stuff out. She ain't even cursing.
Man, right. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's coming. It might come out.
Yeah, no, but looking out for beep on CBS.
Hilarious. But it's so sad, but that's so true.
No, it's just the truth. It's the nature of the business.
I'm on social media, Nikiva Dionne, and I did some beautiful projects that I hope, we'll get to see the light of day. I was able to film back home in Maryland for the first time. So that's going to be remarkable once that sees the light of day. And then we'll see. You know what I mean? We're in pilot season is wrapped up and we're trying to see how things are shaking right now in Hollywood. Yeah. But you can definitely play Lyric Party Game. Follow Lyric Party Game on social media as well. Share any videos or any photos of you and your family playing. That is probably my greatest joy right now. And I do have somebody running those pages, but I'm always in the comments. So, so it'll be me hitting you back probably in the comments like, girl, y'all played. Y'all had a ball. So yeah, and any feedback at all. I'm always growing as an artist. I am open always to feedback, to what people are responding to. I had no idea what you were responding to, because you didn't know me. And that was what intrigued me about sitting down with you. I'm like, you don't know me, so what do you want to talk about? What you never know what's working, for what people. And thank you for trusting me with your platform. I'm proud of you.
I'm honored.
And the seeds that you're sowing.
I appreciate you.
Covering you and your family constantly in all your endeavors.
I appreciate
and I hope we'll cross paths again, man.
Of course, of course. So beautiful people, another episode in the books, the Word of the World podcast. Until next time, peace and love.